Hello there guys, welcome to one of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more latest news. So the big question is, do you think Ole Gunnar Solsjaker should be sacked as Manchester United manager? Now obviously we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. Obviously we've only won 2 league games so far this season out of 8 league games. We've drawn 3 and we have lost 3. So in that aspect, we've only registered 9 points from possible 24, and we obviously know that's nowhere near good enough to our standards, and we actually 2 points above relegation. So actually we are facing a battle for relegation. I don't think Manchester United will get relegated. Like I said, I think the club's too big. Obviously there's too much money and that into the football club. Like I said, the last time Manchester United were relegated was back in 1974, which was obviously now over 40 odd years ago. Like I did say earlier on my previous video, I think we have the 4th worst record now in the Premier League since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got appointed as the club's full-time manager at the end of March. I think we've only registered 17 points. We've registered 17 points from our last 16 Premier League games. So that just indicates how how bad where the club are at the moment. Well, we've actually been inconsistent in the last 6 or 7 years. Obviously in all the managerial eras. Our away form's also been atrocious. I think it's now 11 away games that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has had now without a win at Manchester United. Obviously the last time we did win away from home was obviously in the PSG game last season in the Champions League, when of course we did produce that miraculous comeback. Now obviously you've got the vast majority of Manchester United fans demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out of the football club. You've also got the vast majority of Manchester United fans also demanding Ed Woodward and that out in the football club. Also a lot of the United fans are criticising the Glazers, but like I did say anyway, I don't like the way the football club has been run in the last 6 or 7 years. But you'll still get certain Manchester United fans that probably will back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I was recently one of them fans that was willing to back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and like I said, I want his tenure to become successful at Manchester United, but I know his tenure isn't going to become successful at Manchester United and that, because Solskjaer has not got that managerial experience, especially not to the highest level. So for me, he isn't good enough to succeed as a manager. Solskjaer won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mold. Obviously he only had a really short tenure with Cardiff, and his record at Cardiff was very, very poor. I think he actually got Cardiff relegated, and I think actually now it's worse under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era than what it was under the Jose Mourinho era. It's actually worse now under the Solskjaer era than what it was obviously under the David Moyes era, because obviously David Moyes only lasted 10 months at Manchester United, and I think he's the manager to have the shortest tenure with the football club since the Alex Ferguson era and that. But like I did initially say, a lot of Man United fans will be saying now. I also said the same recently. I also said it towards the back end of last season. I think we've given Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we shouldn't have given Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. We shouldn't have given him the job. We should have waited until the end of last season, or we should have waited at some point until this season, to make a decision, to give him the job or not. So I think, we shouldn't have given him the job. So that was another mistake by the football club. But in a way, I do feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because I think that the club have put him in a difficult position. So in a way, I do feel sorry for him. But I think, due to our inconsistency in that, I think that the blame stems from everybody. But I think the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board. Because the board, obviously a lot of people are criticising the board, but for me, the board weren't ruthless enough during this summer. They didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough during the summer. And obviously, recently Gary Neville has had his overarching view on that of what's going on with Manchester United, and Gary Neville's has actually given a lot of criticism to the board. He actually believes Manchester United have gone backwards under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and that, but he believes it's the board. Obviously, with the poor recruitment and that in the last 6 or 7 years, obviously we haven't got the players that we did want. Obviously, with the poor selection of managers, so you can obviously blame the board in that aspect. But also, we haven't been competitive enough in the last 3 to 4 windows. So analysing our recruitment policy, isn't too good. good, to be quite honest with you. But you're still getting certain pundits like Gary Neville and Roy Keane and that, still saying, despite our bad start to the season, Manchester United, should still back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So they did initially say that we should give him at least a couple more transfer windows, to make further more investment and obviously to see who else, he can recommend to the football club. Because obviously, analysing it, the majority of this squad is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Actually, the majority of this team is obviously Jose Mourinho's team, and Solskjaer is inheriting the vast majority of Jose Mourinho's players. But you can still quite frankly say, he's in the process of rebuilding. And like I did say to you, I credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in certain aspects. Obviously, he did recommend, 3 good players to the squad during the summer. We spent a substantial amount in the summer. We spent nearly £150 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and on Harry Maguire. And we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far. But we know during the summer, that we didn't address all the problematic areas, which was obviously, a big disappointment. But I said, during the summer, it was, going to be extremely difficult for us, to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window. But I think already Solskjaer is making plans for the January transfer window. I think also Ed Woodward is making plans for the January transfer window. But to be quite honest with you, I can't see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being here by January and that. But obviously now the vast majority of Manchester United fans do want him out with the football club. Like I said, Solskjaer has not yet had a long tenure at Manchester United. Obviously now Solskjaer is I think being at Manchester United overall for around 11 months. Obviously, we recommended Solskjaer in last year following the dismissal of Jose Mourinho. Don't forget, Solskjaer came in at the first term as interim manager. Obviously, don't forget he won 14 out of 19 games in that 3-month period when he was the interim manager. So when he was the interim manager, the results were good, the performances were good. He got the best out of these group of players, and he exceeded expectations. But since he got the job in March earlier on this year, everything, of course, has just seemed to have all gone wrong. But obviously, we do know it's a different kettle of fish, obviously, when you're permanent manager, to being interim manager. But for me, I just don't think he's good enough, to succeed at Manchester United. And like I did initially say anywhere, regardless of who our manager is, I don't think anyone is, no one can invoke, Ferguson's legacy, especially Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can't do this to save him at Manchester United, basically, because obviously, taking into account, Ferguson, didn't win out in his first 4 years at Manchester United. Obviously, we recommended Alex Ferguson in back in 1984, was it 1985, and he didn't win out in his first 4 years. But we know back in the old generation that obviously, managers got the time that they would have liked. Obviously, now in this generation, the managers, don't get times, that they would like. And that, because we do know now the boards are a lot more ruthless. But we had Ferguson. Look what he accomplished after that 4-year period. We had 20 odd years of success under him. Obviously, he developed a lot of young players. He bought quite a few players and that. But we'll never be the team that we was under Alex Ferguson. But like I did initially say, this is the worst Manchester United team now I've seen in this generation. For a lot of years, despite the fact that a lot of money has been invested into the football club now. Obviously, reflects on the history of this football club, and like I've just mentioned, reflects on the amount of money that's been invested into the football club. I think we should be in much more of a commanding position than we're in now, because we're sitting 12th in the league at the moment. We're sitting 12th in the league, and we're enjoying a worse season this season so far than what we saw last season. And last season was bad enough. We finished 6th. Obviously, failed to qualify for the Champions League, and I think actually last season was the lowest we finished since the David Moyes era, because I think we actually finished 7th, back under the David Moyes era. But I did initially say, with our failure to qualify for the Champions League, I think that was one of the main factor reasons that went against us in the summer transfer window, because obviously, if you haven't got Champions League football, it's going to be harder to attract players to the elite level. So a lot of players had element of concerns about joining Manchester United during the summer. But I do believe, the players, we was in for during the summer, probably more than likely, we'll go in for some of them in January. Maybe we will leave some until next summer. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still to be here by January, which I can't see happening the way things are going at the moment, obviously I think he's keen on continuing the policy of recruiting young British players, like he did do earlier on in the summer. But for me, he isn't the right man for Manchester United. And he has, got that proven pedigree as a player because, Solskjaer was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. But he hasn't got that. He hasn't really got that experience as a manager, and I do feel sorry for him. And I don't want him to be sacked as Manchester United. Don't forget, he has got a 3-year contract as Solskjaer. He signed this 3-year deal when he got the job permanently at the end of March. But yeah, and it's just not good enough. Like I said, it's just not good enough. And, I think everything needs to improve at Manchester United. The performances need to improve. A lot of players need to improve because a lot of them have been inconsistent this season. I think the home form needs to improve. The away form needs to improve. The style of play is atrocious. A lot of United fans are not happy with the brand name of football. Everything needs to improve at Manchester United. And I don't think we've played particularly well at all so far this season. There's certain games that you can pinpoint out that arguably Manchester United should have won and that, because I think there's been 3 games so far this season where we've been winning 1-0 at half time, but obviously we've failed to win. But yeah, and in certain games, we have created chances and that, we just haven't been, ruthless enough in front of goal. But in the last 2 games, I think we've actually failed to register a single shot on target. I don't think we had a shot on target yesterday against Newcastle. I don't think we registered 1 single shot on target against AZ Alkmaar. There's no attacking intent. There's no fluidity in the team. There's no inspiration in that attacking third of the pitch. The midfield's awful. This is why we need to address the midfield in January. Some people say we need a fullback. We definitely no need a striker. Don't forget, for the majority of the summer, we was in search for a right winner. But, like I said, the team, we have got some good players in that team, but for me the problem is, they're just not gelling together, and they're not obviously playing as a team, and this is why obviously of course it isn't working out. But yeah, I haven't seen any improvements at all under Solskjaer than what I saw under Mourinho, Louis van Gaal, and of course David Moyes. So I think it won't be long before Solskjaer goes. It has been a lot of talks about it going on quite recently, but I think he definitely will be gone by Christmas. But the board have been a liability now for too many years, and that they've been too much of a liability, with the poor recruitment, like I mentioned earlier on in the season, and not backing managers enough. But the board need to assure structural changes at the football club, and whether they can assure these structural changes or not, I do not know. Probably not, to be quite honest with you. But like I said, reflecting on our bad run of performances, definitely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is accountable for that. So some of the blame does stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because his tactics are questionable. We are tactically inept, I will admit that. But yeah, we have got a lot of young players in the squad, that are developing and trying to improve Manchester United. And I credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in that aspect. He has got a lot of faith in his young players, because the vast majority of the young players have been given their chances this season, which is very, very good. I don't think all, the young upcoming players, will become a success at the football club. Obviously, You've got Mason Greenwood. I think Mason Greenwood definitely, will become a success at Manchester United. Like I said, he hasn't yet started a game from the start in the Premier League. Obviously started in the game against, Rochdale and FC Astana, and obviously, scored in them 2 particular games, and obviously produced that moment of quality in both games. And I think by the time he's 23, 24, I think he can be a world-class centre-forward for United. He can play on the right. I think he actually played on the right against AZ Alkmaar, did Mason Greenwood, but I think he's more effective as a number 9, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. Mason Greenwood, though, he's only just turned 18 years of age, and it's impossible to leave him out of the team, if he keeps scoring, and obviously, if he does keep the consistency up. I do like Mason Greenwood a lot. But yeah, and I think at this moment in time, he's a much better solution than Marcus Rashford is Mason Greenwood and that. So I think we need to select Mason Greenwood on more often, to be quite honest with you. Did well throughout pre-season as well. Did well for the reserves last season, did Greenwood. But yeah, we need to see more of him. I've got some element of concerns about Chong. I don't know if he can become a success at Man United. I think he's totally comparison to Mason Greenwood, is Chong. Don't forget, Chong has played a couple of times this season, but he had received loan offers this summer, from PSV and his former club Feyenoord, but obviously turned these loan offers down. Obviously, he's remaining loyal to Manchester United for this season. I think, Alex Tuanzebe can become a success at the football club, because I think in the majority of games he's played this season, I think he has been mainly consistent as Tuanzebe. I think he did initially say anyway he's going to be a big part of the squad this season, and I think he'll become a success. Obviously, Angel Gomez, he's another one of our young upcoming players. He's played a couple of times this season. He's obviously another one of our midfield options. You've got obviously Jimmy Garner. I don't think he's yet played this season, but should get given his chances. I think he played a couple of games throughout pre-season. Obviously, you've got Diego Dalot. That's one of the young upcoming players. Obviously, Diego Dalot's only been at the club since last summer. He's played. I think so far this season he's made 2 appearances for Manchester United as Diego Dalot. But I think maybe we should, orchestrate on, maybe getting rid of some of the young players, maybe loaning them out, or maybe get rid of them permanently because maybe they're not good enough to represent Manchester United, or maybe, maybe it'll be beneficial for their career, and obviously them going on loan in that aspect, it will gain them more experience, but definitely all the upcoming players, will not become a success at Manchester United, in my opinion. But I think, there has been certain players still this season that have performed quite well, but I think the vast majority of them, of course, have underperformed. So I think the majority of this Manchester United team do need a reality check. But I said at the end of last season, and he also said at the start of this season that excuse me, that our expectations this season will be to finish in that top 4. That will be our expectations this season. Perhaps, maybe a win some silverware. I did initially say, Ole Gunnar Solsjaker has got to exceed these expectations at Manchester United, because obviously we want to get back into that top 4. Because obviously, we want to get back into the Champions League. And I know we're not going to get top 4 this season. I've already, disregarded that. Actually, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is, he's actually doubted Manchester United, finishing in the top 6. And another thing I do like about Solskjaer, he has got a lot of honesty, which I do like. I like a lot of individuals, who have got a lot of honesty. So he can see the inconsistency from Manchester United, can Solskjaer, and I think Solskjaer is aware, and I'm aware, and obviously the vast majority of Man United fans are aware that this is a different era now. This is a different era, different players, different groups that we are building, and that, like Solskjaer mentioned in his press conference prior to the Newcastle game, and that, and it's a total different era now. It's a different era, and that, and Solskjaer is not going to last at Manchester United. That's just something I've got to guarantee. He's not going to last at Manchester United. But, if Solskjaer, is to be sacked by the football club, who should come in to replace him? Now, obviously, I think there's 3 managers that have been mentioned, who could possibly, replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. Obviously, we could possibly reignite our interest in Mauricio Pochettino, because don't forget, before we recommended Ole Gunnar Solskjaer into the football club, after the Jose Mourinho sacking, we went in for Mauricio Pochettino, and he was actually our primary candidate to replace Jose Mourinho at the time. And a lot of people said at that point, and I think a lot of people now do believe that Pochettino would be the right candidate for Manchester United, and that he would fit the strappings of the club. Obviously, he's been at Tottenham now 5 years. He's now into his 6th season in management with Tottenham, so he's well Premier League proven. He's good at developing young players. Obviously, it hasn't won out yet in terms of silver. I think Pochettino has got a release clause of around, £32 million. So it did say at the time we was in for him, we'd have to pay a compensation of around, £32 million or something like that. But at the time we went in for Pochettino, I don't think he had any intentions of leaving, Tottenham. And as like I said, Daniel Levy is a hard negotiator. But obviously, our preference was Solskjaer over Pochettino, because obviously Solskjaer knows the culture of the football club, and obviously, Solskjaer was a cheaper solution. Don't forget than Mauricio Pochettino. But we could possibly reignite our interest in him, because I think he's now under serious pressure at Tottenham, reflecting on Tottenham's bad start to the season. So if Pochettino Pochettino does get sacked from Tottenham, and he gets the opportunity to come to a big club like Manchester United, because we are still a massive club historically, I think he'll grasp that opportunity. If he isn't to be sacked by Tottenham, then probably he won't come. But if Tottenham do sack him, I think he could walk into the Manchester United job. Of course, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to be sacked. Like I said, we was in for Zinedine Zidane at one point. Obviously, I think, there's been recent talks about Brendan Rodgers. Would you recommend Brendan Rodgers in as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's replacement? I don't think we'll get Brendan Rodgers, because obviously I don't think he's got any intentions of leaving Leicester. Obviously, he only started management with Leicester. Well, I think he only joined Leicester earlier on in the summer and he's done really, really well with Leicester. I'll credit him for that. He is proven in the Premier League as Brendan Rodgers. I think before he served quite a few years with Liverpool. Actually, when he was at Liverpool at the time, I think he emulated the football that he did at Swansea. And he had a good 2013-14 season there with Liverpool, did Brendan Rodgers. Don't forget, after I think he left Liverpool, I think he went to Solsjaker for a couple of years, didn't he? And he actually, did really, really well with Celtic. So do you think he would be the right man to replace Solskjaer? We know there's been recent talks about Massimiliano Allegri from Juventus. The former Juventus manager, should I say. Obviously, Massimiliano Allegri has been managerless, not for long. He hasn't been managerless for long. He only stepped down as Juventus manager earlier on this summer. He did resign. Obviously, the majority of his silverware he had won. Obviously, he'd won it at Juventus, but he served 5 years with Juventus. Did Massimiliano Allegri? I think he's in his 50s. Obviously, he has so far spent the entirety of his managerial career, with in Italy. Also spent the entirety of his playing career in Italy. And recent reports indicated out saying that he would be interested in coming to Manchester United to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But yeah, so there's been quite a few, there is actually quite a few managers on our current agenda. But a lot of Manchester United fans now are obviously losing faith in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And we know a lot of us, were sitting Ollie's at the wheel, obviously, whilst he was interim manager and that, because obviously, everything, was going right, sorry. But since he got the job, of course, everything has just seemed to have all gone wrong. But like I did say, I've already explained to you guys, why obviously, it hasn't worked out in all the other managerial areas, since Alex Ferguson left. Obviously, with Jose Mourinho, obviously, we had Jose Mourinho for what, 2.5 years? He had a 2.5 year tenure at Manchester United, did Jose Mourinho. He had a 2.5 year tenure. Obviously, I think he's actually, Mourinho's the longest serving manager we've had, since the Alex Ferguson era. But I think I think it was one mistake from Alex Ferguson, not recommending Jose Mourinho in after he retired, but instead he obviously recommended David Moyes. But you could arguably say if we'd have got Jose Mourinho after Ferguson's retirement, then it may have been a different scenario with Manchester United. You could arguably say that. But yeah, I think we're appointing Jose Mourinho in too late. And obviously, back in the day, Jose Mourinho was regarded as one of the best managers in the world. But Jose Mourinho, despite the fact that he won the Europa League and League Cup in his first season at Manchester United, his tenure didn't become successful, because obviously these are the reasons. He had bad disputes with the board. He had bad disputes with the top players. Obviously, the board weren't backing the signings that I wanted to recommend into the football club last summer. And Mourinho spent just under £400 million at the football club. He recommended 11 players in, like I said. He recommended 11 players in, like I said. Obviously, Mourinho bought also Dalot, Fred and, Lee Grant in last summer. But obviously, actually, Solskjaer's priority last summer was obviously to recommend an experienced centre-half, and obviously they didn't get that. But, like I said, also the style of play under Mourinho was poor. It was part of football. So these are the reasons, why it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho. Like I said, under Louis van Gaal, we won the FA Cup back under Louis van Gaal. Louis van Gaal, of course, brought a lot of players into the football club. There is still some of them here now, but actually, now the vast majority of them have now left. But yeah, so like I said, Solskjaer is our fourth permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. And as I do keep mentioning, we haven't really got the structure to keep sacking managers. Obviously, as well, we don't want to sack a club legend, and I think this is the only reason why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still at Manchester United for this present time. I think the board are being soft on him because obviously they know he was a club legend. So if this was another manager in this position now, I think Manchester United would of course have got rid of him. But we haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers and that, like I've just mentioned. But he's not going to last at Manchester United. I'm sorry to say. Don't forget, during the summer as well, we was in search for a sporting director. Obviously, I did initially say that's one of the structural changes that we do need at the football club. Obviously, we didn't get that director of footballing, because I did say at the time we was in for one, we need to recommend someone who knows about the club, someone who of course has got that experience, someone who would be reliable to oversee our transfer business and that. And there was quite a few former Manchester United players linked to that director's role during the summer. Maybe you could arguably say if we'd got a director of footballing early on in the summer, then maybe in that aspect, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have been backed more. But obviously, we didn't end up getting one in. And I still believe, these deadwood at Manchester United. And despite the fact now a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe, with these more problematic players at the football club. Obviously, like I said, Italy's been a popular destination, for the vast majority of our players that have left this summer. About 4 of our players went to Italy. Obviously, we've loaned quite a few players out. And it was a shame during the summer that obviously, we didn't recruit a replacement for Ander Herrera. I think that was another mistake from the football club, letting Ander Herrera go, because I thought Ander Herrera, was one of our best players since the Alex Ferguson era. He had 5 good years with Manchester United under Herrera. Well, I'd say he had four good years out of 5. He had some bad spells. He had a bad spell under Mourinho on that, but prior to that, I think he was mainly consistent. This is a good statistic to update you on. We won the vast majority of our games last season, when Ander Herrera was playing. So it just indicates out the difference he made in that midfield. And to see him go on a free transfer as well, that infuriated me more. At least, we should have tried and cashed in for him. But, we tried actually getting him a new contract, but obviously the club weren't willing to meet his wage demands, so he ended up going on a free transfer. But, we're known for doing that. We're known for overpaying for players. And, and when it comes to letting them go, we let them go for next to nothing. So that's also frustrating. And it was compatible with Darmian. We basically let him go for next to nothing because we paid just over £12 million for him from Torino back in 2015 under Louis van Gaal. And then early on in the summer, we let Darmian go for just over £1 million. So that's bad business again from the football club. Lukaku, now, obviously, in a way, I'm glad he went. And I was actually, very, very delighted that the money we did generate from Romelu Lukaku's departure. I was very, very delighted about that. We actually got around 70 odd million for him, so more or less we recouped the money that we paid for Lukaku a couple of years ago from Everton, because we paid around £75 million from Everton. Obviously, like I said, now he's Inter Milan. I think he's actually performing quite well for Inter Milan. But the main factor reason why Lukaku left Manchester United, because obviously he initially lost his place in the team, and he had a good first season at Man United, Lukaku, but he obviously didn't replicate that in his second season. And obviously, like a lot of people were concerned about his first touch and that, his finishing. But he came up in some certain games and delivered the goods to Manchester United. But obviously, we've got to definitely recruit a replacement for Lukaku. And like I said, Sanchez as well, don't forget he went out on loan. He's obviously now at Inter Milan. Despite the fact that he's on loan, though, Manchester United are still paying the vast majority of his wages. I think we're still paying him around, 300 grand a week, Alexis Sanchez. And I said, the only way we would have got rid of Sanchez was putting him out on loan. We would have found it difficult, obviously, to get rid of him permanently, due to his substantial wages. But yeah, I'm glad he went out on loan anyway, because Sanchez endured a difficult 18 months and that with a football club. But yeah, they're reuniting now anyway, Sanchez and Lukaku. But I think now that obviously now they've left, I think we look exposed in that attacking line. And we're lacking goals this season. We've only managed 9 goals this season in 8 Premier League games. And yeah, we've definitely got to strengthen up that attacking line. Definitely, obviously Smalling. He went out on loan to Roma for just under £3 million. He served, 9 years at Manchester United, Smalling. Obviously, despite his dismissal, though, obviously, we have still got around 6 centre-backs in the team. Don't forget, we also did loan a couple of goalkeepers out. So I was happy that we got that summer clear out that we demanded, but I still believe, these more players that do need to leave in January or next summer, in my opinion. And, like I said, the performances just haven't been good enough this season. They just haven't been good enough. I think Rashford's been very, very poor so far this season. Rashford hasn't performed to the standard as we all expected him to be quite honest with you. And he's mainly enjoyed a difficult time, this season in comparison to his time when he first broke into the senior squad. Obviously, we do know so far that Rashford has spent the entirety of his career with Manchester United. He's been a United player since the age of 7 as Marcus Rashford. And obviously, he's been in the senior squad with us, since 2016. I don't think he'll probably spend the entirety of his career with Manchester United, but I'd still say he needs time. Obviously, he's still only 21 years of age, or is he 22? Obviously, a lot of United fans, do believe that Rashford is overrated. He has just recently, recovered from a groin problem, but he's been so poor this season. Lingard's been very, very poor this season. Again, he hasn't, performed or, met expectations as we all thought he would have done, because Lingard's still a very imperative player for Manchester United and reflects on his status at the football club. He should be, putting a much more better performances out. I've also been very, very disappointed with Andres Pereira. He's obviously another one of the young upcoming players. He had a good game against Arsenal, but I think prior to that, he's actually been very, very poor as Andres Pereira. Paul Pogba, again, he hasn't performed to the standards as we all expected. He's been a huge disappointment this season, because analysing it so far this season, Paul Pogba has played the vast majority of our games. Obviously, he's missed some games with injury and that. Obviously, he's out with injury at the moment. I think, all our players now that are injured, or the vast majority of them now that are injured, I think, should be back, for the game against Liverpool after the international break. But yeah, Paul Pogba's mainly enjoyed a difficult time in Man United since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016. Obviously, he's enjoyed a mainly difficult time, obviously, in comparison to his time, when he was obviously at Juventus. Around 4 to 5 weeks ago, Paul Pogba withdrew from the France squad. He withdrew from the France squad. Obviously, with the foot injury he had sustained in that in the 1-1 draw with Southampton. He would have been infuriated in that aspect, because we know that Paul Pogba does like to represent France. He obviously won the World Cup and that with them last summer. I'm glad we convinced Paul Pogba to stay at Manchester United at least for this summer, because we know we failed to get a midfielder in during the summer and that. And we know deep down that Paul Pogba is still a very, very imperative player for Manchester United. I think the games that Matic has played this season. I think he's been a huge disappointment. I think again he's another one of the problematic players at the football club. But there wasn't one good individual performance against Newcastle. If I'm going to be quite honest with you, I think they were all poor. I thought McTominay and Fred looked totally exposed in that midfield against Newcastle. To be fair though, I think the majority of the games this season, I think McTominay, has played quite well. So I'll credit him for that. But in regards to him being a long-term solution for Manchester United, I have got element of concerns about that. Can he keep the consistency up, McTominay? But I think he's done mainly well this season, to be fair. He's still developing, like I say. Obviously, Fred... a lot of people have got element of concerns about Fred. A lot of people don't think, he's going to become a success at Manchester United. And I think, he's had a good couple of games this season as Fred. Obviously, did well in pre-season. The games he played, he did well towards the back end of last season. But mainly has enjoyed a difficult time at Man United. I thought Fred was an exceptional player at Shakhtar Donetsk, but hasn't really performed to the same sort of level at Manchester United. And don't forget, we paid just under £50 million for Fred, but they were abysmal against Newcastle. But my opinions on the signings and that, I think they've really settled in really, really well, to be fair. Obviously, I think, Daniel James has mainly enjoyed a great start to his Man United career and that. I think he has scored 3 goals so far this season. But I have been very, very, proud of Daniel James. And Wan-Bissaka, a lot of people believe, he's been one of our most consistent signings this season, and Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, he's missed the last 3 games for Manchester United in all competitions due to the illness he's had. And Wan-Bissaka, of course, has had tonsillitis. But again, I think he should be back for the Liverpool game. And yeah, he's been out. And Harry Maguire, I think he's been mainly consistent. I think, Manchester United overpaid for Harry Maguire. Obviously, we paid around £80 million for him. Obviously, he is the most expensive defender in the world. He's the second most expensive signing at the football club, as Harry Maguire. But I think he's mainly done really, really well. And I think Lindelof and him have blended in our backline together, really, really well. My overarching view on Lindelof is, I think, in the majority of the games he's played this season, he's done quite well. Obviously, didn't play against Newcastle. Obviously, Alex Tuanzebe, played alongside Maguire in the game against Newcastle. Lindelof, obviously, I think he's flourishing at Manchester United. Lindelof now is into his 3rd season as a Manchester United player. But I think he has been mainly consistent in that. Obviously, Martial and Luke Shaw have obviously missed the last 6 games for Man United in all competitions. Obviously, with injury. Martial's out with a thigh injury. Luke Shaw is out with a hamstring injury and that. And they are 2 imperative players in that. And, Take the injuries into account, to be honest with you, that's no excuse, but we'll still take them into account and that, because it does make a difference in a team, when you have got quite a lot of injuries and that, but there's no excuse, the way that Manchester United are performing in that. But I think anyway, Martial and Luke Shaw, will be back for the game against Liverpool and that. I thought, to be quite fair, that Martial enjoyed a great start to the season, before he sustained his thigh injury. He enjoyed a good start to the season, and he has now scored over 50 goals for the football club as Anthony Martial. He's now into his 5th season as a Manchester United player. He is only 23 years of age, is he? Or is he nearly 24? Or is he 24? Nearly 24. He's been a United player since the age of 19. Obviously, we got him back under the Louis van Gaal era, Anthony Martial. And he's a really, really good player in that, and I think he's improving. I think he's getting more than runs in behind. He seems to have that finishing asset. So I still don't think Martial has quite, emulated that level yet. But he will, of course, keep getting better. And when he does regain full fitness and he can keep the consistency up and he can avoid sustaining any more injuries, I think, he can score a lot of goals this season for the football club. We're missing him in that attacking line. Martial, like I said, looks more effective in that number 9 role. He seems to be more of a standout player when he plays in that central position, that even though he predominantly, plays out wide, Martial. And with Luke Shaw, like I said, he's been a big miss. Obviously, Luke Shaw is our first choice left back. But yeah, like I said, they should be back for the game against Liverpool. Like I said, you've got Eric Bailly, long-term absence. He's out, I think, until the end of December or the new year with a knee injury. Is Eric Bailly. And I do like Eric Bailly a lot, but I think reflecting on these injuries, I think, and also with his fallout under managers, that's affected his Manchester United career bad. And we could consider moving him on, next year or next summer or, sometime in the future. And that, I think the club, would be open to selling him. Fosu Mensah, another one of the young upcoming players. Obviously, he's been out with injury for quite some time. I think he's been out with a knee injury as well as Fosu Mensah. Don't forget, he returned to the club earlier on this summer because last season he was on loan with Fulham. And like I said, with Lingard, he's now out with a hamstring problem. He came off injured in the 0-0 draw with AZ Alkmaar in stoppage time. So we have, got still quite a few injuries, but most of them should be back for the Liverpool game. I think the only ones obviously that won't be back is probably Bay, and I do presume it will be Fosu Mensah. They'll probably be the only two that obviously won't be back from injury, I should presume, in that. But, like I said, we need to put a performance in against Liverpool, and Liverpool is going to be an extremely difficult game. Liverpool are on fire. Liverpool have been very, very competitive now for the last 2 to 3 years at least, and Jurgen Klopp's done a really, really good job with Liverpool. And, Liverpool, like I said, invested well in the last couple of windows. Obviously, they didn't make any, investment, this summer, but in the previous 2 windows before that, they did a really good investment in that. And I think Liverpool will win the league this season. Obviously now I think they're sitting 8 points clear of Man City. Obviously City losing yesterday to Wolves 2-0. Liverpool I think beat Leicester by 2 goals to 1. Liverpool, obviously, you can say they're the best team in Europe right now. Obviously, they're 6 times winners of the Champions League. Obviously, they won it last season. Obviously, Liverpool haven't won the league for 3 decades. Well, they've never won the Premier League since it got founded in 92, 93. But Liverpool's going to be a difficult game in that. And we also need to improve our records against the top 6 sides, because our record against the top 6 sides is very poor. But yeah, Liverpool's record at Old Trafford isn't good though. They haven't won there in the league, since 2014. Obviously, I think we lost 3-0 at Old Trafford back under the David Moyes era to Liverpool at Old Trafford. So we haven't lost at Old Trafford to Liverpool in the league for over 5 years now. Obviously, we lost at Anfield last season 3-1. That obviously ended Jose Mourinho's tenure at Manchester United. But Liverpool is going to be a very difficult game. But we have got players on big contracts at the football club, like I do keep saying. And, we can obviously afford to overpay for players. And obviously, we can afford to give players big contracts because we're a massive club. Obviously, we're a massive club, with a massive revenue. So we can afford to overpay for players in that. You've obviously got De Gea now on 375 grand a week. He's the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. Obviously, you've got Rashford on nearly 300 grand a week. You've got Martial on 200 grand a week. You've got Paul Pogba on 290 grand a week. Recent reports have indicated out saying that Paul Pogba is demanding a substantial 600 grand a week if he is to renew his contracts at the football club, and 600 grand a week equates to around 30 million a year. You've got Harry Maguire. I think he's on around 200 grand a week. Jones obviously signed a new long-term contract last season. That's another. I'm happy that we got certain players new contracts, but I'm actually disappointed that Jones signed a new deal. Young obviously signed a new 1-year extension last season. McTominay, I think, signed a new long-term contract last season. I think Andres Pereira also signed a new deal earlier on in the summer. I'm actually happy that Mata signed a new deal earlier on this summer, even though he has lost that yard of pace now. Obviously, doesn't get selected regularly anymore, and he's aging up now. His Mata, I think, is now 31 years of age. But I think overall he's had a really good career with Manchester United. If I'm going to be quite honest with you. But yeah, and that's just basically all my opinions on it. So, do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be sacked as Man United manager? Like I said, he has to take some responsibility, because quite a lot of the blame does stem from him. But I think more of the blame does actually stem from the board. The board have been a liability now for several years. They've been a liability. With the recruitment's been poor. Obviously, the poor selection of managers and that, so the board are mainly to blame, in my opinion. Obviously, everyone will have a different overarching view on it. You get certain Manchester United fans that are still demanding Solskjaer out. You'll still get certain Manchester United fans that will back Solskjaer, and they'll obviously, criticise Ed Woodward and the Glazers instead of Solskjaer. Everyone, will have a different overarching view on it. But I don't think the club will get relegated, like I mentioned. I think the clubs are too big to get relegated. But look how much money's being spent at Man United. I think around, an estimated guess, I think we've spent around £800 million on players, in all the managerial eras since the Alex Ferguson era. And that's just under £1 billion that we've invested into the football club. And that's not taking into account as well, what was spent under Alex Ferguson. But yeah, something needs to change. Something definitely needs to change. I don't think we're going to win out in terms of silverware this season. We're not going to win the Europa League, like we did a couple of years ago under Mourinho. League Carabao Cup, we're not going to win that. We only just got past Rochdale. We got Chelsea in the 4th round. I'd say we're out of that one. But yeah, nothing much really more to say. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribing as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching.